A huge weather pattern change will be coming to the United States this weekend and next week, and this will bring the coldest weather that we've seen in years in the month of January, as many areas could be as much as 30 to 50 degrees below average. In addition to that, we are watching for the potential for two different winter storms, one of which will take place in the Ohio Valley in the Northeast during this weekend, and we could see another winter storm near the Gulf Coast of the United States, maybe even into parts of the Southeast. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 10 days. And we'll begin with what's happening across the country today. And overall, the weather's pretty nice for most of us. The only activity that is currently happening is that we do have some moisture that is coming out of the Pacific Ocean and as well as the Gulf of Mexico. This will continue to spawn some showers and thunderstorms over the next couple of days near the Gulf Coast. This will be mostly impacting the Gulf Coast and as well as Florida. And then back over in the Northeast, the lake effect snow bands are starting to wind down. We had a lot of lake effect snow near Watertown, New York, and just around Lake Erie. Overall, that is now winding down. And then back over in the northern plains, a little bit of moisture is kicking on some cloud cover and a few showers. But overall, there's not really much happening right now. But again, that's going to change as we go into this weekend. And then lastly, the wildfires continue to rage on back over in southwestern California. The winds actually underperformed yesterday, which was good news. We didn't see a whole lot of resparking of wildfires, but they are going to continue for the next several days. As we get closer to Friday and Saturday, the winds will die down and the moisture will increase a little bit, but as we go into next week, there could even be more Santa Ana winds that could bring the potential for some big time wildfire events. Now, the weather is going to be changing a ton over the next couple of weeks, as we are expecting some of the coldest weather that we've seen in years across much of the United States, and there will also be a potential for some snow. So let's look at the jet stream to give you an idea of what the weather pattern will be looking like throughout the next several days, beginning with what's happening right now. Overall, we do have a little bit of a dip in the jet stream here, but it's mostly zonal flow across the eastern tier of the country, basically anywhere east of the Rocky Mountains. And this is leaving more of a stagnant and really just kind of quiet weather pattern for many of us, where the temperatures are beginning to warm up a little bit and there's no big storm systems right now. And then back over on the west coast, there really isn't much happening there other than the strong northeasterly winds around this low pressure system, which are ramping up those wildfires that are going to probably continue for the next several days. Eventually, as we go into the weekend, that is where things change across the entire country. We are expecting a storm system to move over the Rocky Mountains as we go into Friday, and eventually by Saturday, that's going to move into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and we are fully expecting showers, thunderstorms, and even some snow across areas from the deep south all the way back through the Northeast. And then eventually, as we really go into Saturday into Sunday, that's where this weather pattern will really start to take place. That's where we'll be watching for that winter storm to move to the Northeast. We'll have a big dip in the jet stream over the Rocky Mountains and back over into the northern plains, and this right here is where all the cold air from the Arctic is going to be coming, and we are going to be talking about the threat for temperatures as low as 30 to 50 degrees below average for this time of the year. There could even be a couple spots that see record-breaking temperatures due to how cold it is going to be getting. As we go into Sunday into Monday, notice how the jet stream winds continue to stay strong across the northern plains. This is going to indicate that we are going to be seeing a lot of cold air coming out of Canada, and then eventually as we go into early next week, this will just continue to ramp up, and we are expecting the threat for a lot of cold air in the United States. And there's also going to be a potential down here on the southern side of this jet stream back over near the Gulf Coast. If a storm system is able to make its way from the Pacific Ocean into the southern plains, or even if we see something develop in the Gulf of Mexico, we could see a winter weather event somewhere in the southern plains, the Gulf of Mexico, or back over in the southeast United States. The odds are still in the low to medium sector right now. It's not a high chance, but there's definitely a chance of this happening. And where do I think that will happen? Well, we'll talk more about that here in just a few moments once we go through the future radar and also the probabilities of you seeing more than an inch of snowfall over the next couple of weeks. So it's about to get really cold in the United States, but before that happens, the temperatures will actually be above average for many areas that are east of the Rocky Mountains as we go into Friday, but it's all going to change as we go into this weekend, as we are expecting an Arctic invasion of cold air to usher into much of the United States as we go into Saturday and as well as into Sunday, with some of the coldest weather being located in the Midwest and the northern plains, where some areas could be as much as 50 degrees below average for this time of the year. We're talking about downright frigid weather across parts of the northern plains in the Midwest. As we go into Monday into Tuesday, this cold air spreads out across nearly the entire lower 48, with the coldest of it being in the northern and central plains, back into the Ohio Valley, and also including the Midwest. And this cold air will also go as far south as Florida and as well as Texas. And then eventually, as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, that very frigid frigid weather will even move into areas like Texas and Oklahoma, and also back over towards the East Coast, where there could be some areas that their high temperatures don't even get out of the 20s on a given day. So this is definitely going to be one of the coldest weather patterns that we've seen in quite a while for the month of January. So how cold could it actually get across the United States in terms of the actual temperatures? Well, this is what it looks like as we go into Sunday morning. It is going to be downright cold across the northern plains, where many areas will be as much as 25 degrees below zero for the actual temperature. This is just, again, frigid. This will cause frostbite, especially for any exposed skin for an elongated amount of time. And including the winds, this is just going to be a recipe for really cold weather in the northern plains. Look at the freezing temperatures going as far south as almost Houston as we go into Sunday. But by Monday, those below freezing temperatures will be reaching the Florida Gulf Coast and back into southeast Texas. Again, temperatures as low as 25 to 30 degrees below zero Monday morning across the northern plains in the Midwest. And there will be plenty of areas, by the way, that the temperatures don't get above negative 10 degrees as we go into the afternoon hours on Monday or Tuesday. As we eventually go into Tuesday morning, we think Tuesday morning will be one of the colder mornings of the week for the majority of the country, where below freezing temperatures will be near the Gulf Coast, and also sub-zero temperatures in the Ohio Valley and Northeast, and also back through the northern plains and the Rocky Mountains. And then plenty of Canada will also be dealing with that cold weather. And then eventually by Wednesday, things will start to improve in some areas, while other areas like Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas will not be improving. Many of those areas will still be dropping closer to 0 degrees by the middle of next week. That right there is pipe bursting cold potential in the southern and central plains. Also, sub-zero temperatures will continue in the Northeast. And then beyond Wednesday, things will likely start to improve again, where we're going to be dealing with above average temperatures at least sometime later this January. But overall, it is going to be a very cold stretch of weather. And again, this will probably be one of the coldest Januaries that we've seen in years. And obviously, we don't really know that for sure yet, but we are thinking that this will be one of the coldest that we've seen in over 10 years. Now, the wind chills, aka the feel-like temperatures, are going to be even more brutal when it comes to how cold it's going to be. This is Sunday morning. Many areas in the Midwest, anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees below zero. The northern plains as much as 50 degrees below zero. And then eventually, as we go into Monday and as well as into Tuesday mornings, it just continues to get worse. I mean, look how far south the sub-zero line goes for feel-like temperatures. It goes into the Texas Panhandle, even goes into parts of northern Georgia. So this is definitely going to be something that nearly the entire country is going to feel as we go into Tuesday, and same thing for Wednesday. It is just, again, going to be very cold for the beginning and middle portions of next week. And again, this is a pretty confident scenario. We are growing confident that it will feel this cold for much of the country as we go into the early to mid portion of next week. So again, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We'll keep you posted with the latest on how cold it'll exactly get. But so far, what I'm showing you here is pretty close to what I think it'll be next week. Now, there is a potential for some snow over the next couple of weeks in several different areas across the country. This is what it looks like as we go into early Saturday morning. We are going to have a large storm system forming from the deep south back into the Ohio Valley. There will be some moderate to heavy snowfall that'll move across the northern Ohio Valley and then eventually into the Northeast as we go throughout the day Saturday, and then maybe a low chance for a couple of isolated severe storms, primarily confined to the Gulf Coast as we go throughout the day Saturday. And then eventually, as we go into late Saturday night to Sunday morning, some snow will fall in northern New England, but really this is going to be a fast-moving system. So overall, winter storm conditions will only be happening in a few select locations. It's not going to be a widespread event. What's a lot more interesting is what we're looking at as we go into early next week. This is by Tuesday and as well as Wednesday. Now, the GFS model and several other models are all over the place right now with exactly what's going to happen next week. But with the jet stream being dipped very far down here to the south, any storm system that's able to form near that jet stream and is able to get enough moisture will have the potential for producing some wintry precipitation with how cold it's going to be. So we could see the potential for a winter storm here somewhere in the southern plains, maybe even back over into areas like the southeast, and I wouldn't even rule out something near Florida as we go into the middle of next week. And then eventually, as we go into Tuesday, throughout the day Tuesday and Wednesday, notice how the GFS model does have an elongated area for the potential for some level of wintry precipitation. Again, exactly where this happens and how much snow or ice we see is very uncertain. All I gotta say is this is something that is increasing in confidence. We just don't know exactly where it's going to happen. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon down below so you're notified with the latest updates. I would have to say, though, if we do have this happen somewhere, I think there's two areas I would expect at least some level of wintry precipitation, one of which being down here in the southern plains where the storm system forms, and then also back over in the Carolinas. I'm growing a bit more confident we'll see something there. Anything in between is a little bit more fuzzy right now. I just don't have enough confidence there to really think that we're going to see something yet. But as we get closer, if models continue to trend in the direction that we'll see wintry precipitation, confidence would obviously grow. In terms of total snowfall out of that little winter weather event Saturday and early Sunday, again, most areas will see between 3 to 6 inches of snowfall from Ohio and Indiana back into northern New England. A few select locations could be a little bit over that, mainly near Lake Erie, and then also back over in the Appalachian Mountains, where we could see upwards of 6 to 12 inches of snowfall. Here's your probability of seeing greater than 1 inch of snow between now all the way through January 26th. Again, notice areas like Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, and Iowa. Almost a 0% chance, but if you're back over along the Gulf Coast, near a 50% chance in some areas. How does that even make sense? It's the weather. It's crazy in 2025, just like it was in 2024. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.